It's almost universal that the 1964 film Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is considered to be one of, if not the worst Christmas movies ever made. Despite its short 80-minute runtime, the film is typically criticized for being too slowly paced, having no interesting characters, a horribly cheap production design, and being just flat out boring. And honestly, I cannot disagree more. The film is fucking fantastic, but only when you realize it's not about Santa Claus conquering any Martians. That's stupid and would be foolish to take this film at face value. What this film actually achieves at being is an intense allegory for the dangers of using and becoming addicted to marijuana.
Marijuana is an intoxicating, mind-muddling drug.
That's right, marijuana, the most ruthless of addicting drugs. You can break this movie down into 3 parts, revealing the subtext of how devastating and hardcore the use of marijuana can be on yourself and your loved ones. The 3 parts I like to dissect are experimenting with marijuana, becoming horribly addicted to marijuana, and overcoming the uphill battle that is marijuana addiction. And just so we're on the same page, the themes or ideas that some of the characters represent in the film are as follows. The Martians represent marijuana and marijuana addiction in general. The children represent the addict's experience and relationship with marijuana, and Santa Claus represents sobriety. Now, some of the things I'll say here about the horribly addicting properties of marijuana are very well known today, but back in 1964, many people just weren't as informed of the dangers of what the drug can bring.
How many joints do you smoke a day? Around 5.
So forgive me if I'm saying things that are obvious, but I like to analyze the movie as objectively and informative as possible. That being said, why don't you stoke a fire and pour yourself some eggnog, because we're about to get real fucking deep in the Christmas time classic Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Part 1. Experimenting with marijuana. Alright, so just to briefly go over the first few minutes of the film, we open with a television program about Santa Claus and his workshop. We're then shown 2 Martian children watching that program, followed by the chief Martian waking up a sleeping Martian on the floor, and then demanding that the other Martian children go to sleep. He is puzzled as to why the children are being so disobedient and glued to the television. He calls up a few of his Martian homeboys and they squad up to ask some ancient Martian what the deal is with the kids. The ancient one claims that they're just really into the whole Santa Claus thing on Earth. So the Martians decide to visit Earth and kidnap Santa for themselves so he can do all that Christmas shit up on Mars. So like I said before, the Martians represent the effects of marijuana personified. The film presents this by suggesting people who smoke marijuana watch too much TV, they sleep too much and are lazy.
Droppo, you are the laziest man on Mars.
They're over-controlling and demanding.
I want to see more toys.
No, go to sleep.
They are aggressive.
Stand up.
Since marijuana is considered to be a gateway drug, it's suggested that with the mentioning of the pill food, that people who smoke also probably abuse pills as well, and perhaps eat them up like food.
Kimar, I bought some new food pills. I hope the children will eat these.
And since the chief ran to the ancient one before really knowing what the problem was with the children, it could be a roundabout way of claiming that people who smoke marijuana, even once, become aimless drifters, not knowing how to solve any of life's problems themselves and are too dependent on others.
Can't we make our own decisions?
Alright, so now that we have a better understanding of what marijuana is and how it can destroy your personality, next we're introduced to Billy and Betty, the closest things we have to protagonists. These characters are introduced for a mere 35 seconds before they're confronted by the Martians. At first, the Martians just want to ask them a few questions about Santa Claus, but things escalate and they're quickly stolen by the Martians. As stated before, these 2 children are allegories for the marijuana addicts in general, and the 2 of them being kidnapped is a metaphor for getting hooked and being at the mercy of the drug. So, now that these 2 innocent children have experimented with marijuana, from this point forward, most of what happens in the film is an allegory for the varying stages of marijuana addiction. Next, we get a scene that represents the thrill of experimenting with marijuana. At such an early stage, the children, like most people, don't see themselves having any sort of a problem, and actually seem to like the drug. They foolishly think that it makes things more interesting. The dweebish Martian is even showing them around the ship, which could be an allegory for marijuana opening the door into showing you the false promises it offers. Let's take this conversation between the children and the dweebish Martian and let's read into the subtext.
Does this light up?
Only when radar waves are bouncing off our ship. Then we put up this radar screen, then nobody can find us in space.
Boy, that's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
Now let me play the scene back with the subtext dubbed.
Do we spark the joint?
Only when we feel bad vibes in our bodies. Then we get so fucking high that nobody can touch us.
Boy, that's pretty sharp.
Yeah.
He's away and flying. Up, up, out of this world.
The children fucking dig it. They are officially cool with smoking marijuana. Then the children and the dweeb Martian discover that the chief and the other Martians are approaching the control room. This immediately showcases a negative side effect associated with marijuana:
Paranoia.
They start freaking the fuck out, and instead of explaining why they're in the control room in the first place, the dweeb Martian, or marijuana, convinces them to hide in the radar box. While the children are hiding in the radar box, they hear the Martians plan to never return the children to where they found them. Originally, the Martians just wanted to ask the children some questions. It was harmless, but then it quickly got out of hand and the children were held hostage by the Martians, or by marijuana. Now, after indulging too much, the children are prisoners of the Martians, or in other words, are now aware they're addicted to and prisoners of marijuana. Folks, it can happen that fast. Upon realizing the severity of their situation, they attempt to destroy parts of the radar box and make a run for it away from the Martians and to find Santa Claus, who, let's not forget, represents sobriety. This could be representative of someone destroying or throwing away drugs or drug paraphernalia and making an attempt to leave their drug use behind and find sobriety. With the children making an attempt to stay away from marijuana, we're then shown a sequence that seems to be about the withdrawal symptoms. The children seem to be lost. They have the chills, weakness in their muscles, and are fatigued. With the exception of peeling skin, hair loss, and rectal bleeding, these are all common signs of marijuana withdrawals. Now, as they're experiencing the withdrawal symptoms, they see one of the Martians looking for them and quickly run away to hide. This could be viewed as an addict running away from thoughts of a relapse. Billy and Betty are then attacked by a vicious polar bear. But they're able to escape. The polar bear could represent common everyday life problems, and the children overcoming the problem of being ripped apart and eaten alive by a vicious polar bear without the need to escape through marijuana is a very positive sign that maybe these kids can tackle life's problems without escaping through drugs. However, they solve that problem by hiding and isolating themselves. This is a major misstep, since it's always better to approach problems in life head-on and not to run away from them. Isolation is also a very common sign of an eventual relapse. This misstep causes them to become captured yet again by the Martians, or in other words, does in fact cause them to relapse on marijuana. Their sobriety was taken from them, and this is represented in the following scene when the Martians finally capture Santa. Part 2. Being horribly addicted to marijuana. After Santa and the children are captured, we see a news segment addressing that the leaders in the United Nations building are working together to get Santa and the children back home to Earth. Meanwhile, the Martians think they made a clean getaway.
Looks like we made a clean getaway.
This could be seen as an addict, assuming no one notices their marijuana usage, when in fact it's very apparent and the people around them are already working together to pull them out of the clutches of addiction. Next, we see a Martian come into the control room eager to tell the other Martians a joke he just heard from Santa.
What's soft and round, and you put it on a stick, and you toast it in a fire, and it's green?
I don't know, what?
A marshmallow!
Oh, fuck off. Alright, that was fucking stupid. You know, at least open that joke with the green part, because what you just did was obviously describe a marshmallow until saying it was green. There was hardly any time to ponder what you were actually talking about until you mentioned it was green, and even then you still give away the punchline. It's such a terrible fucking joke with a horrible goddamn delivery. However, most of the other Martians just eat that shit up like it's the funniest goddamn thing in the world, probably because they represent marijuana, and when you're high on marijuana, you think any little stupid goddamn thing is fucking fun. Oh, fuck. Anyway, Jesus. Then we see Billy and Betty in their cold prison cell, possibly referencing marijuana users inevitably but rightfully being put in jail. Getting blackout drunk and calling your ex at 2 in the morning is fine with us, but smoking half a joint while watching cartoons? No, that's jail for you, Billy and Betty. You kids fucking disgust me. Anyway, Santa tells Billy and Betty a joke.
Well, I tell you, it was the biggest chimney I'd ever been in. And then suddenly I realized it wasn't a chimney at all. It was the smokestack of the Queen Elizabeth.
Yes! Good fucking lord, that is hilarious. That is how you tell a goddamn joke, you dipshit Martians. Now, despite that being one of the greatest jokes captured on film, the children don't laugh, and I believe that's just because Santa, representing sobriety, just isn't vibing on the same level as the children, who are prisoners of marijuana. They can't connect with normal non-drug users anymore. They're too distant from other people, only valuing getting high so they don't have to face their withdrawal symptoms again. Next, the dweebish Martian comes in and offers everyone some pills, really forcing that gateway drug idea down the audience's throats. But Santa gives an interesting line.
I suppose if a Martian has a headache, he doesn't take pills, he takes chocolate ice cream.
This is a clear statement on addicts not developing proper problem-solving skills, and when life throws problems their way, as life will inevitably do to everybody, the addict will rush to a drug to numb the pain instead of handling it. Running to marijuana when you're stressed out is just as preposterous as running to ice cream when you have a headache. It'll only make your problems worse. And speaking of making problems worse, the mustache Martian lures Santa and the children into the airlock of the ship, traps them inside, and then attempts to shoot them off into space. You could read into this as overdosing on marijuana, maybe inevitably, or when attempting to maybe smoke an entire joint by yourself, which is a crazy amount to smoke alone and would surely cause you to get so fucking high your organs would just shut down and you would die instantly. This is just one of the many dangers of smoking marijuana.
Up, up, out of this world.
However, what's interesting about this scene is that Billy seems to be incredibly aware of the danger that he's in.
This room is called
Airlock.
That's right.
Sure. This is where you come when you're ready. You put on your space suit, the door closes, and because the air pressure of the rest of the ship give a spaceman a chance to make a final checkup. It will pull all the air out of this room and us with it.
Yet he still gets trapped inside the airlock. This could be an interesting way of telling the audience that marijuana addicts do have an awareness of the danger that they're in and would probably want to get out of it, but since marijuana is literally the most addictive substance known to man, it's hard to pull them out in time. But somehow Santa and the children perform some kind of Christmas miracle and escape the slow and painful clutches of death. They all make it onto Mars, and we get an awkward scene where Billy and Betty meet two other Martian children who happen to be the exact same age. This could be representative of addicts taking a good look at themselves and who they've become after smoking marijuana. Billy and Betty representing who they were before smoking, and the Martian children representing who they've become. Not knowing how the fuck to react, they all just start awkwardly laughing at nothing. Part 3. Overcoming the uphill battle of marijuana addiction. Next, we see the mustache Martian hiding in a cave, possibly warning the audience that marijuana use can lead to homelessness. One of his homeless buddies shows up and delivers a horrifying monologue where he breaks the fourth wall and tries almost hypnotizing the audience by talking about a spiral coil. This is horrifying because it's almost as if marijuana is attacking the audience, looking right into our eyes, luring us in like an anglerfish's light, only to snatch us away and destroy us. The film could be trying to inflict the same amount of danger that Billy and Betty are in, but at the audience, which is why I believe this film is so immersive. The children seem to be having a real shitty time up on Mars. They can't seem to recapture the same excitement they once had when they first dabbled with marijuana and long for returning to Earth sober. Then we're shown the dweeb Martian trying on Santa's clothes. Metaphorically, this could be seen as a marijuana addict making their first attempts at getting sober, represented by him putting on the clothes of the character who represents sobriety. Then we see the mustache Martian and his gang of smelly homeless Martians messing around with Santa's toy maker. They mistake the dweeb Martian for Santa and kidnap him. Then, when the real Santa returns to use the toy maker, him and the children discover that the toys are coming out distorted and wrong. If you consider the toy maker to represent the childhood of addicts, then what all this could resemble is marijuana messing with deep-rooted issues, possibly from past trauma an addict may have experienced at an earlier age. And now with the constant use of marijuana, the distorted toys could represent distorted memories or even memory loss from the drug use. Later, the dweeb Martian, who's been held captive in the homeless Martian headquarters, attempts to make a run for it and escape. One of the Martians pleads for him to stay, threatening his life if he leaves.
Once you hit that nuclear curtain, there won't even be a whisker left.
The Martian doesn't listen and makes a run for it. This is fucking inspiring and grade A filmmaking. The film is showing us that marijuana is actually powerless and you can run away from it whenever you want to. And even if you think you might die, isn't it better to live life on your own terms? We only have a limited time here on Earth, folks, and we shouldn't allow marijuana to control our lives. Don't listen to that addict voice in your head. Take charge of your life and run right through those fucking nuclear curtains. Alright, so the chief gets his fucking ass handed to him by the mustache Martian, symbolizing that marijuana makes you fucking crazy and aggressive towards authority. Then the mustache Martian rushes over to kill Santa, I don't know, for no reason really, he just wants to kill somebody. Doesn't really matter though, because Santa and the children shoot some bubbles at him until he cries like a little wet bitch. So the main surface level antagonist was defeated, and defeating him in the toy maker room could be symbolic for the children overcoming their past trauma with the help of Santa, or sobriety, no longer needing marijuana, defeating it for good. I'd also like to point out that overcoming childhood trauma and repressed feelings is pretty fucking hard, and I think that the film is acknowledging how hard and chaotic it can be to do by symbolically having chaotic cinematography, music, and editing choices in the scene where they defeat the mustache Martian, creating a strong sensory experience. The scene ends with all the other characters laughing together, this time not as awkward, and a true sign that they are on the path to sobriety. And in the final scene of the film, we see Santa, Billy, and Betty saying their goodbyes to the Martians before leaving Mars and heading back to Earth. And with the last line of the film, Santa claims that if they hurry, they'll make it back in time for Christmas Eve. On the surface, it's a serviceable line to give at the end of a Christmas movie, but regarding the subtext, what this is sobriety suggesting that if you hurry, you'll make it in time to start living your life to its fullest potential. That might be why Santa says Christmas Eve and not Christmas Day, suggesting that you could start enjoying your life on your own terms sooner than you actually think. But you have to hurry, folks. Whatever vices you have that are distracting you or keeping you down or eating away at you, you have to face them head on. You have to acknowledge your faults. Take ownership of your life. If you don't make the time to work on creating the life that you want, you're eventually going to be forced to spend a lot of time dealing with the life that you don't. And it all starts with you and all the little decisions you make throughout your day. There's a reason the phrase "one day at a time" is so cliched, and it's because it works. Focus on today's tasks, be present in the moment, and start believing in yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else is thinking. They're not you, they might not share the same values as you do, and they're probably either too focused on their own problems to notice yours, or they're just trying to distract themselves from their problems by pointing out flaws in you, which is just sad on their part. So let me put it this way, folks. Life is kind of like a blank canvas, and while some people might be born with multiple types of paint colors and paint brushes, others are just born with one chewed up dull pencil. But no matter who you are or where you come from, you can take that paint or that chewed up dull pencil and you can make something fucking beautiful out of your life. We're all capable of way more than we actually think, but it takes stepping out of our comfort zones and risking adversity to truly find out what our potentials are. And it all starts with you taking control over your life, figuring out where you want to be, who you want to be, and hustling until you fucking get there. But most importantly, I don't fucking know, dude. Marijuana's not that fucking bad. God damn it.
Well now, you've heard from both sides of the question. But if you become a pothead, some of you will actually go to the moon and perhaps other planets because you were on pot.